Welcome everyone. I'm Kira for Shakti Power Yoga. I'm excited to share my practice with you today because it's a little bit different since we're going to delve into Hindu mythology. Thank you for trusting me with your practice on this adventure today. Come find yourself on the mat. Bring the bottoms of the feet to touch in Baddha Konasana. Bring the hands out in front of you and slowly roll down onto the mat, taking Supta Baddha Konasana. Bring your hands to your sides or to your belly and relax, melting into the mat. Today will be a workshop style class to teach you more about the history of poses you often take in Vinyasa classes. The title of this class is A Mythological Adventure Through Yoga. We will be exploring stories in Hindu mythology as they relate to classic yoga postures. Yoga does not tell us to believe in a certain religion. As we express these divine postures and hear the mythology, we are just trying to connect emotionally and mentally to these poses in a new way. The villains in these stories represent ignorance, volatile emotions, selfishness. The heroes are the antithesis of that. These wondrous stories might re-spark an excitement for poses that have become trite. We'll start with belly breath here, so relaxing your knees out to either side. Bring your hands to your belly. And inhale as your belly rises, and exhale, it passively falls back to the ground. Keep your inhale and your exhales equal in length, so that might mean slowing down the exhale a little bit more. And that'll start to relax you and center you for our practice today. Keep following your breath. Sometimes it's hard to pull out our mats and find time or energy to practice. This class today is meant to be fun and maybe inspire you to come back to your mat more often. In life, we have the habit of continuing through the same worn-out cycles in work, relationships, and health. Samsaras are these cycles. They're the paths too often taken. These paths help us avoid things that we know deep down will better ourselves. Today's class is meant to break you out of those samsaras by approaching yoga in a new way. Sometimes all we need is a small change to spark larger change. Shiva is the god of destruction. He sees when energy becomes dampened and removes those obstacles. So today we're going to focus on him, and we're going to learn from him how to break out of known cycles and use our time for growth. Bring your right knee to stack over your left knee, rolling onto your left side. Use your hands to help you rise up to a seat. You can grab a block to place under your hips if it helps you stay comfortable in this pose. This is Sukhasana, just a seated, easy seat. Sukha is the root of this pose name, and that means ease. So we want to use the block if needed because we need to make sure we find ease wherever we land in this pose. We're going to start with some seated side bends, Parsva Sukhasana. So inhale, both arms rise up, look up towards the ceiling, follow your gaze to your hands, and then exhale, left hand finds the ground, leaning over to the left side bend. Inhale back through center. Exhale, lean over to the right. Your bottom arm may bend here. Inhale up through center. Exhale back to the left. Make sure you're not leaning back or twisting forward. Inhale up through center. Exhale over to the right, a completely lateral movement with the torso. Again, not twisting. Inhale up through center. Let's do one more. And over to the left. Inhale up. Over to the right. Inhale up. And then take your left hand to your right knee and easy twist here. Parivrtta Sukhasana. And back up through center. Inhale. Exhale. Twist to the left. Shiva is Lord of the yogis. He created yoga at his wife Parvati's request to help people free themselves from suffering. Life is hard. Happiness is elusive. We fall prey to the illusion that this is all there is. Parvati wanted Shiva to create a system to help people deal with the inevitable suffering that comes as a part of life. Inhale up through center. Exhale, twisting once more. Shiva invented 84 basic yoga postures to prepare the mind and the body for meditation. Every pose you take today should be done with a purpose. You can take a moment here to set that intention for your class as we take one final twist up and to the left. If you need more confidence, challenge yourself in poses that you tend to shy away from. If you need relaxation, back away from your edge and add more child's poses to your practice. Have a game plan for how to put your intention into action. Inhale up through center. Exhale, hands come down in front of you. Walk your hands out until your hands and your wrists stack under your shoulders and your knees are under your hips. Table pose. Inhale, arch the spine, look up towards the ceiling. Tailbone shining up towards the ceiling as well. And then exhale, round everything, look back towards your knees. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Keep moving through at your own breath pace. Shiva is often depicted with his wife Parvati and his mount and guardian Nandan. Nandan is a powerful white bull. Protect your spine here, but give it a good stretch. Cattle are nurturers, the mothers in the traditional Indian culture. So nurture your spine here by going through the full range of motion to bring in fresh nutrients. And the next time you come back through center, lean back on to your heels and walk your hands back towards your body. You can plant one foot and then the other to rise, or you can tilt yourself back and take a toe stand to rise, just for a little balance fun. Any way you want, we'll meet at the top of the mat. Finding Tadasana here, grounding through the feet, spreading the toes, feet hip distance apart. Roll the shoulders back, palms facing the front of the room, crown of the head reaching up. I've told you that Shiva is regarded as Lord of the yogis since he invented yoga. But what gives him that authority? Let's explore how we know he's a worthy teacher, how we know he's enlightened. Inhale, arms up, Urdhva Hastasana, looking towards the ceiling. Exhale, forward fold, bringing yourself down with a flat back. And then grab a hold of the elbows and just hang out. You can have a bend in your knees here. You can rock side to side. According to some schools of philosophy, when the energy in the lower body is awakened and spirals up through the spine and out the crown of your head, the meditator has become enlightened. Shiva wears snakes around his neck because he has mastered that Kundalini energy. Only enlightened beings are safe from snakes. Now bring a deeper bend into the knees so you can plant the palms and step back into a strong plank pose. Lower the knees if you want, and we'll all chaturanga down and open up into a wild cobra. You are a wise cobra here. You know yourself best. You have that intuitive wisdom. You can follow that guide for the rest of the class and alter or skip poses as you see fit. And now we'll transition into down dog by leaning back using the knees on the ground. Find your down dog. You can keep a bend in your knees again because we are just warming up. The focus should just be getting the hips as high as possible and avoiding rounding the lower back. Spread the fingers wide, press into the knuckles. And step yourself up into a half forward fold, stretching crown of the head to the front of the room. Straight back, and then leaning down, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva. And exhale, hands to heart, Samastihiti. Great job. Take a few breaths here. Now, hopefully you trust me that Shiva is enlightened. How do we get to that point, though? How do we dedicate ourselves to the process of yoga? Let's explore with another round of Surya Namaskara. Inhale, arms rise up, opening up through the chest. Exhale, forward fold. Shiva, being the destroyer, often hangs out at cremation grounds. In this form, covered with ash, he is accompanied by dogs. Move through your version of chaturanga into up dog or cobra and hold up dog. In India, dogs were long regarded as wild scavengers with low morals. So why would Shiva be accompanied by them? Move yourself into down dog. Who is drawn to the search for the meaning of life? Who is drawn to yoga? Most of us come here when we recognize that we need change. In this pose, embody the need to prove yourself, the need to rise up from rock bottom. Gently press your hips up towards the sky like you're trying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Know you are worthy of everything that you want in life. And then go ahead and step or hop into half forward fold, stretching forward, and then forward fold, curling down. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, mountain pose. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway rise. Exhale, plank or straight into chaturanga, but lower all the way down to the ground and rest one cheek on the ground. We are going to take Salambasana, locust pose. So we want to really activate through the legs, flex the quads, press into the tops of the feet to prep. And then on the next inhale, lift everything up, scrunching the shoulders towards the midline, opening up the chest, pointing the toes and sending them back and up. We're stretching, but we're also strengthening the back. So really crunch the back in as far as possible, warming up the spine. And then release back down to the ground. Rest the other cheek on the mat. On the next inhale, rise back up into Salambasana one last time. Press the hips into the mat. Tuck the tailbone strongly to add to that back bend. Imagine yourself being lifted up by your shoulders, by the crown of your head, and by your feet. One more breath here. And an exhale brings you back to the mat. And again, transitioning with the knees, go back into child's pose for a moment of rest here. And then when you're ready, lift back up into downward facing dog. On the bottom of your next exhale, step or hop to the front of the mat, half forward fold. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to heart. Now we'll bring our hands back behind us, sweep the mat, and come into chair pose. Big toes can be together to touch, and with an inch of distance between the heels, or you can spread out and have hip distance apart with the feet. Focus on lowering the hips, tucking the tailbone slightly so you get a nice chair feel. And exhale, swing the arms back down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway rise. Exhale, plank or chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg rises, three-legged dog, opening the hip. Exhale, right leg swings through and left heel drops back at a 45-degree angle. Inhale, rise up, warrior one. In warrior one, the hips are facing the front of the room. Your tailbone slightly tucked, kind of centered, so you're not doing anything funky. And your arms are straight up towards the ceiling. Your hands can come together and touch, or your arms can be parallel. And your gaze can find the ceiling, looking at the thumbs. Bend into that right leg a little bit deeper. And then we'll open up and find warrior two. This time the left foot is parallel to the back edge of the mat. We're leaning deeply into the right leg and our hips are parallel to the long end of the mat. Gaze over the right middle finger. Drop the shoulders down. On the next inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, warrior two once more. Exhale, windmill the arms down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. Exhale, left leg pulls through. Drop the right heel back, 45-degree angle. Inhale, rise up, warrior one. If your hips are having a hard time facing the front of the room, take your feet a little bit wider so that your feet are hip distance apart, and that'll leave you more room to rotate your body forward. Straighten through the elbows, real active in the arms. And open up, warrior two. Stretching out through both fingertips like you're trying to get longer with the arms. Pulling together with the feet, keeping the legs really active by activating the inner thighs in this way. And the next, inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, extended side angle, looking towards the bicep. Inhale, warrior two. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale here. Jump forward, half forward fold, and forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. Excellent work. Rise up, Tadasana. Sometimes even Shiva forgets to function without attachment. Shiva's first wife, Sati, married him against her father's wishes. Shiva showed up at their wedding with his long dreadlocks, his body covered in ashes, fresh from the cremation ground, snakes around his neck, as always, and leading a parade of demons. The demons smelled of bang, which is a liquid marijuana derivative, and her parents were horrified. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway rise. Exhale, fold again and stay there. Sometime after the wedding, Sati's father invited everyone to his palace for a party. It was technically a religious sacrificial ceremony involving a fire, but kings often put these on just to show off their grandeur. Sati and Shiva, living up on their mountain, did not receive an invite. Step back and hold plank. Press back through the heels, lift the hips slightly, and round through the shoulders to tuck in the shoulder blades. Sati went to her father's party anyway, even though she wasn't invited, and her father's friends hurled insults at her about her taste in men and her wedding. Sati could not bear it. She threw herself into the ceremonial fire. Go through a vinyasa or go straight to downward facing dog. When Shiva sensed that his partner, the love of his life, was dead, he became enraged. His anger was pointed at the father. He pulled out a dread from his hair and flung it onto the ground. The dread wound its way down the mountain and rose up as a warrior, a personification of Shiva's emotions, in the center of the party. This was Virabhadra. We'll play out the scene that followed. So from your down dog, right leg rises up and pulls through, setting the feet up for warrior one. You are that fierce warrior rising up from the dirt. Make a show of it. Drag your arms along your sides and picture yourself slowly rising from the ground. Imagine the scared looks of all the rich partygoers as you find your ground. Arms straight up through the ceiling. You're there. You're at the center of the party and you're angry. Feel the fire start to build in your legs as you hold this pose. Maybe deepen through the right knee a little bit more. Get a little lower. Sit down. We want to build that fire in the quad. That's the intention of this pose. We're supposed to be fierce. We're supposed to have that fire. Slowly and intentionally open into warrior two with your gaze set straight ahead over that front middle finger. You've spotted Sati's dad. You're eyeing your enemy. Feel the anger inside of you twisting into the need for rage. A sword is in your backhand, and you're about to use it. Feel your breath. Take a hold of that sword. Straighten yourself out into a high lunge as a prep, or lift yourself straight into Warrior 3. Our target is locked and we're thrusting the sword into our enemy. Hold here and feel the happiness rush over you as the need for revenge is satiated. And drop yourself back into a high lunge just to transition the hands down. Take a vinyasa or go straight into downward facing dog. Hold here. Shiva recognized how foolish it was to act in anger. The happiness after revenge was so fleeting. Volatile emotions did not serve him. So he revived the father, and Sati came back as her next form of Parvati. When we move through the second side, think about how all-consuming anger is, but then how quickly the happiness drains away when we act on that anger. And that just leaves us with regret. So we'll move through those emotions once more. Inhale, left leg rises. Exhale, left leg pulls through. Prep the feet for Warrior 1. Swing the arms back and then slowly forward. Rising up, rising out of the ground. You're angry, you're Virabhadra. You're at the center of the party. Everyone's looking at you and you don't even care. Sink lower into that left leg. Point the hips towards the front of the room. You're trying to sense where your enemy is. And then windmill the arms, open into Warrior 2. You see your enemy. He's straight ahead. There's that sword in your back hand, in your right hand, and you're about to use it once more. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit of fire in the quad, fueling yourself, that angry, warm energy. And then transition through high lunge or go straight into Warrior 3, stabbing Sati's father straight in the chest. Feel happiness flood over you as that revenge takes place and the hold it had on you is released. And then drop back through a high lunge into another vinyasa or straight into downward facing dog. Bottom of the next exhale, hop or step to the front of the mat. Half forward fold and forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to heart. We all experience anger and admittedly sometimes the desire for revenge. Let us use our practice to work out our emotions so we don't leave ourselves in a state like Shiva found himself in. That was a pretty intense flow, but life's all about balance. So let's give ourselves a break now. Step your right foot back, coming into a wide leg position, facing the long edge of your mat. Keep a block within arm's reach for the next few poses. Turn your right toes to face the back wall. Send your hips towards the front wall and tilt forward, finding Trikonasana, triangle pose. You can use your hand on a block here, or have it find your shin, or either side of your shin. In the Indian Trinity, Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, and Shiva is the destroyer. He destroys negativity and illusion. He makes way for new life. This pose represents that Trinity. Stay relaxed but energized through the side body. Don't collapse the torso against the front leg. Instead, activate the ribs and use that power to help you twist a little deeper so your shoulders can stack. Inhale, rise back up through the center. Reverse those feet. So we'll take triangle towards the front of the room. Lean over, sending the hips towards the back of the room, and then drop down. There are 3 triangles formed by the body here. The first one is between the mat and your legs. So activate the quads a little bit so you can straighten the knees and make sure that is a nice angled triangle. And then the second triangle is between your front leg and your arm. So maybe your torso can get a little closer to parallel and make that a nice strong triangle, reaching down towards the ground with that bottom arm. And then the last triangle is between the top hand and the 2 feet. So stretch that top hand towards the sky. Make sure you're rolling that shoulder back so the shoulders really do stack and the chest is open. And you're making that triangle just as big as possible. Excellent work. And from there, we're going to bend into the left knee and find warrior 2. And then grabbing the block again if you need it for half moon, press into the front foot and float yourself up into your half moon. Shiva has a crescent moon in his hair to symbolize the cyclical nature of time. The moon was once cursed to fade away, and Shiva bargained and said that Chandra would only have to wax and wane, never fade completely. Most of us go through cycles of momentum and then lethargy in all areas of our lives. Take a moment in this pose to feel eagerness. Let the challenge energize you. And then that leg can lower down. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. The moon came to live in Shiva's hair after something went wrong on the journey to find immortality. At the beginning of this cycle of time, all the angels joined to churn the ocean of milk in the quest for the nectar of immortality. All sorts of treasures got churned up, including Chandra the moon. But then a deadly gas arose and filled the air. Inhale, right leg rises. Exhale, right leg pulls through. Inhale, rise up in high lunge for a moment, and then turn the heel down into warrior 2. Stay mentally steady through the wobbling in this next half moon, just like Shiva had to stay calm when the scary poison rose. Inhale, float into half moon. Shiva inhaled the gas and held it in his throat to protect all the others. He was strong enough that the poison couldn't kill him, but it burned his throat and turned it permanently dark blue. To cool the burning, Chandra came to live in his hair. One more breath here. And we're just going to step the left foot down by the right and come into Tadasana. We are moving into the last standing pose. We need to work out all the remaining energy to let us relax fully into the earth. Shiva knows all about these cycles of high and low energy in his form Nataraja, King Dancer. Go ahead and lift the right foot into the right hand. Bring the left hand forward and press into that right hand with the foot so that you can tilt yourself forward into King Dancer. Shiva dances in a ring of flame. The flame represents samsara, those cyclical patterns we all get stuck in life. The front hand holds a drum. It beats the rhythm of time. Feel free to break out of samsaras in this pose. Picture the drum in your front hand, reaching forward with a moving time, getting to the next generation, not sticking to the samsaras. And lower down, shake out. Find Tadasana once more. And take your second side, this time lifting the left hand to the left foot and tilting forward. It's okay to be wobbly here. We're supposed to have to balance because the standing foot is balancing on a dwarf right now who represents ignorance, mainly in the form of fear of change. Fear is stored in our hearts, so the snapshot of the dance should have the chest wide open to release that fear. And excellent work. Lower down, Tadasana. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back and lower down all the way to the mat through a chaturanga. Rest here, one cheek on the mat. If bow pose is in your practice, Dhanurasana, we are going to take it now. If it's not, if it puts pressure on the knees or you're just not a fan for any reason, go ahead and take locust pose again. That's a nice option if you want to stretch, but also strengthen the back instead of going into a full back bend. Keep resting. Part of being enlightened is recognizing that we are all one. And once you realize that, it's easier to be willing to help other people. Now we'll hear some stories where Shiva offered a helping hand. Not all the times that Shiva comes to the rescue are quite as dramatic as when he had to swallow the poison for Chandra. Some of you may know Arjuna from the Bhagavad Gita. He's a strong archer in this Hindu epic where he has to fulfill his destiny as a warrior. And he gets his bow for that war from Shiva, because Shiva had the most powerful bow. You are the most powerful bow right now, so you better feel arched and limber as you reach back for the feet, pressing into them slowly and strongly, and coming into a full bow pose. Crown of the head reaching up, shoulders dropping down, arms straight. Excellent work. Lower down. Press the hips back and find Balasana. In the forest, Shiva strikes the same boar with an arrow while Arjuna is hunting, so that he can start a fight. Arjuna challenges Shiva to a duel for the boar. They shot back and forth, literally with arrows, until Shiva triumphs. With Arjuna on the ground, Shiva reveals himself as a god and helps Arjuna up. Arjuna then accepts the gift of the bow and goes to fulfill his destiny in the war. Go ahead and tilt back forward and find Dhanurasana once more, lifting up strongly. The message in the battle is, whatever I must do without attachment. We all have areas in our lives where we get too attached to results. That attachment causes undue stress. Think of a place in your life where you can let go of results. Think of the stress in your legs right now, maybe the stress in your back as well. Then as one unit, release the stressor in your life as you release your feet and relax back down. Doesn't that feel better? Tilt the hips back into Balasana. Walk the hands back, lean to one side to find a seat with bent knees in front of you. Scoot your hips forward. Bring your hands out in front of you and use them as leverage to slowly lower yourself down into a brief Shavasana as we rest before the next pose. At one point, a group of princes startled a sage accidentally. The sage was meditating. His third eye shot open, and the princes were burnt to ash. The princes could only be revived by being washed over by Mother Ganga. At this time, Ganga only existed in her celestial form, the river of heaven, the Milky Way. So Ganga was requested by the gods to visit Earth to revive the princes. She was so powerful that she knew the force of her fall could make the earth crumble. Shiva was the only one strong enough to catch her. Stationed on top of his mountain, he caught her in his hair, where the river split and streams split off to run down the Himalayan mountains. The princes were instantly liberated, and Ganga grew so attached to those princes and to all of humanity as her children. So she permanently manifested as the river Ganga. We're going to set up for bridge pose here. Bend the knees, bring the feet to the ground. Stretch out your fingertips so you can barely scrape the backs of the heels. And then lift up the hips, keeping the knees centered over the hip bones. Let's give Ganga space to run under us in our Setubandha Sarvangasana here, our bridge pose. Lift the hips high to give her as much room as possible. And lower back down. Heel toe your feet a little wider so the knees can rest against one another. And we'll just give ourselves a moment here. Whenever you're ready, we're going to take another back bend on the ground. So if that bridge felt good, take it a second time. If it felt difficult, slide a block under the hips for a passive bridge this time. And if you're longing for a deeper back bend and the release of a little more energy, find Chakrasana if that is in your practice. The goal here is still just to create as much space for River Ganga as possible, pressing the hips up. If you're in Chakrasana pose, maybe walk the hands and feet a little bit closer together. It might help to push the chest forward so it's in line with your arms if you have a tendency to not open the chest fully in this pose. And then we'll all lower back down. Bring the knees back together, the feet out wide for another rest. Bring your arms up above your head and bring your legs out long. You can roll to one side and transition into a seat, or you can do a roll up here to just get a moment of ab work. Starting in staff pose with your legs out long in front of you, cross your right leg over your left leg, bring it over towards the left hip, and then stay here or bring the left leg around as well, finding Ardha Matsyendrasana. And arms come up and twist over to the right. Remember how I said that Shiva was the first yoga teacher? Well, when Parvati told him to create yoga for humanity, he did that, and he returned to her eagerly to share his poses. And she yawned and listened and tried to support like a good wife. But she was already enlightened. She didn't personally need the poses at all. We're going to lift back up through center and twist over to the second side. So this time, twisting over to the left, reversing the legs. So when Shiva was preaching to his wife about this newly invented yoga, a nearby giant fish in the stream listened intently and went home and practiced those poses. And so he became the first yoga student, Matsyendra. This is half fish pose, Matsyendra being that giant fish. The message here is that there's always something new to learn in yoga. Keep seeking out learning opportunities to stay excited about your practice. And inhale yourself back up through center. Straighten out both legs again, finding staff pose, bringing the arms straight up towards the ceiling and bending from the hips into Paschimottanasana, forward fold. The head is drawing towards the knees. Your hands can be on your shins or around the back of the feet. And go ahead and rise back up. Now we're going to talk about Shiva's love life. Go ahead and bring the left foot in by the inner thigh and come into Janu Shirshasana, one-legged forward fold over the right leg. This pose has the intention of bringing the head to the knee. Picture the space where your third eye would be, that's right between the eyebrows, and focus on that area as you hear a story about how Shiva gained his third eye. Parvati once playfully covered Shiva's eyes. When she was trying to be flirty, she snuck up behind him and said, "Guess who?" And the whole world went dark. Knowledge was gone from Earth. We were in chaos. Go ahead and lift yourself back up. Bring the left leg out long and Janu Shirshasana, second side. When this happened, a third eye appeared for Shiva, always open, so that lightness and knowledge would never fade from Earth again. As we wind down our class, let your third eye guide you into a meditative state, moving the body as you see fit, changing poses to suit your personal practice. And come back up through center. Find an easy seat. Parvati is always very loving with Shiva. They are soulmates. One of Shiva's devotees grew resentful of the closeness between Shiva and Parvati. Shiva embraced Parvati so closely that the devotee could recognize that they were one. He could never study with just Shiva. This is the form of Ardha Narishvara, the Lord who is half man and half woman. Both Shiva and Parvati is one. The embodiment of non-duality. The right half of the body is Shiva, the masculine energy, and the left half of the body is Parvati, the female energy. Let's balance ourselves out, just as Parvati and Shiva struck that balance, because we all have these masculine and feminine energies inside of us. We're going to take Nadi Shodhana now. Lift your right hand, bring your middle finger and index finger down, and find this is Vishnu Mudra. And we're going to inhale through both nostrils and exhale through both nostrils. Take the thumb to plug the right nostril. Inhale. Plug both. Release the right nostril. Exhale right. Inhale right. Plug both. Release the left nostril. Exhale. Inhale. Plug both. Release the right nostril. Exhale. Inhale. Plug both. Release the left nostril. Exhale. Inhale. Plug both. Release the right nostril. Exhale. Excellent. Come to rest in easy pose once more. Now that we're a little balanced out, we're going to move into an inversion. The simplest inversion you can take here is waterfall pose. Grab a block and position it under your hips so that your legs effortlessly invert as you melt your torso into the earth. If shoulder stand is in your practice, you can take that. A blanket might be helpful under the shoulders to relieve pressure on the neck. If you're taking shoulder stand, lie on your back. Exhale, lifts the legs slowly, and then you use the upper arms against the mat to push your torso a little bit higher and grab a hold of your back with flat hands. Then you can walk the hands closer to the mat, coming into a full shoulder stand where the chest and the knees are all stacked in line, straight as an arrow. If a headstand is in your regular practice and you have that sense of balance where the pose is truly restorative, feel free to come up onto a headstand. Stick with one of the other options if you are still muscling up into a headstand, because we want to avoid firing up the body at this point. So only take your headstand if you can completely relax in it. And go ahead and lower down from whatever inversion you took. Take a fish pose just for a moment as a counterbalance. Bring the palms to the ground and slide them under your upper thigh. Press into the forearms here to create space, arching the back. And then if you're high enough, maybe the head can drop back and the top of the head can touch the ground. And lower back down all the way to the mat. Take the knees in towards the chest and find happy baby. Grabbing a hold of the bottom of the feet or peace fingers around big toe if you need a little bit more space, because we want to make sure that our shoulders and our tailbone stays on the mat in this pose. And then go ahead and lower into Shavasana. Point and flex the toes to stretch your heels a little farther away from the torso, creating space in the spine. Wiggle the shoulders until you find space in the chest as well. Relax the limbs into the mat. Picture yourself melting a few inches down into the earth. Feel cushioned and protected. Now relax the eyebrows and picture a third eye expanding. Relax the two eyes under the eyelids and let the third eye take over. Shavasana means corpse pose. We are ending this practice's life, just like Shiva intends. In Shavasana, we are encouraged to celebrate death, celebrate the acceptance, the lives we lived, and the practice we just did. There is one last story of Brahma, the creator. At the beginning, he got carried away and created so much life that the world had become overpopulated. His wife, Sarasvati, the goddess of wisdom, told him that he had to have an exit strategy for the lives and that he must create death. So Brahma created Mrityu, the goddess to take away people's lives. She was horrified by her duty and ran away. Shiva, the god of yogis, found her weeping and said not to worry because he would see to it that all who die are reborn. And so she became Mahakali, the dark goddess who devours life. And Shiva became Mahakala, the regenerator. Together they take what was and transform it into a foundation for a new being. It is time for us to end our practice, but we can recreate our yoga practice each new day as something entirely new. Watch your breath now without changing it. Completely relinquish control. start to come back into your physical body, wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingers. Maybe shake the head side to side. Roll yourself to one side. And then rise up and find a seat once more. The sound Om contains the trinity here of creation, sustenance, and then destruction, and then silence. So it contains the sounds of Brahma, Vishnu, and of course Shiva. So take 2 rounds of Om with me here. Inhale. Om. Let the vibrations wash over you. Inhale. Om. Thank you for trusting me with your practice today. If the mythology interested you, I have 3 books that I highly recommend that I referenced in creating this class. They're great books. If you would like to check out the bio below and order copies on Amazon or wherever you get books. One of them is Hinduism. The first link is really just a basic understanding of what Hindus believe in. That book is great if you're like me and you need to understand the basics, have the fundamentals before you learn any relevant details to you. If you're only looking to read some fun stories and you don't care about understanding the religion as a whole, then the next 2 are great resources for you. They're specifically relating poses to Hindu mythology, just like I did in this class, not giving any background on how Hindus worship, on their sacred grounds, on how the religion was formed, none of that stuff, just specifically the mythology portions. So I read all 3 of them. They're all great resources. I highly recommend all of them. But again, if you're only going to pick one, if you only want a class or a book that's going to tell you basically what I told you in this class, then check out the second link. So anyway, thank you so much for practicing with me today. If you liked this video, please check out my other ones. I have a few that are this like full length, but most of my classes are more jam-packed for the busy yogi trying to fit in a quick workout. So if you are interested in like 5-minute videos, 15-minute videos, 30-minute videos, I have a lot more of that. If you are someone that likes to do a full 60-minute class at home, please comment below because I can make more videos like this. So check out power yoga videos. My videos are organized by time or by like focus area if you're trying to strength train. Check all that out on my channel. Thank you. Have a great day. Namaste.